Did you know there is at least one historically black college in almost 20 states? Join us as we take a look at black colleges and universities state by state. We guarantee you never heard of some of these schools. If you love black history, like, share, comment, subscribe, and click that join button. First up, we have the state with the most HBCUs. When you think of Alabama, is your first thought home of the most historical black colleges? Maybe, if you went to one of the 14 black institutions within the state. Alabama may have 16 black colleges, if you include Miles School of Law or Concordia University. But even if you don't count them, you have lesser known historical institutions like Gadsden State College, Oakwood University, Shelton State Community College, and Stillman College. Then you have bigger names like Alabama A&M, Alabama State, or Tuskegee University. The history of black education in Alabama is multifaceted. After the Civil War, Alabama's HBCUs emerged to address their urgent need for educational opportunities for freed African Americans. The Reconstruction era laid the groundwork for these institutions. The rise of Jim Crow led these institutions to become the headquarters to plan a road forward and become a safe haven of like-minded black men and women. The 1890 Morrill Act expanded land-grant universities to include institutions for African Americans, leading to the creation of black land-grant colleges in Alabama. Even before the Morrill Act, shortly after the Emancipation, Talladega College was the first black college to be established in the state in 1867, founded by three former slaves, William Savory, Thomas Tarrant, and Ambrose Heaton, whose aim was to provide education to the children of the formerly enslaved. Alabama State University was founded just a few months later. Maybe the most famous HBCU in the state is Tuskegee University. There is a misconception that Booker T. Washington is the founder of Tuskegee University. That's not quite true, and actually the founding story is interesting. Founded on July 4th, 1881 by a former slave and a former slave owner, local black leader and former slave Lewis Adams made an agreement with a local politician, W.F. Foster. Foster said if Lewis could convince the black voters in the country to vote for him, Foster would push the state to establish a black school within the county. Foster won and kept his promise. Lewis Adams, with the help of former slave owner and local banker George W. Campbell, established Tuskegee University. And to lead the growth of the university, they hired a 25-year-old Booker T. Washington. The state of Arkansas has 4 HBCUs. You have Shorter College, Philander Smith College, Arkansas Baptist College, and the biggest HBCU in the state, the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. The University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff opened in 1875 as Branch Normal College. It actually started out as a separate department of the state university, the University of Arkansas. It operated separately as a compromise to educate black students, but to maintain segregation. The two universities separated in 1927, and Arkansas at Pine Bluff established its current campus in 1929 under the Morrill Act. The Morrill Act of 1890 was implemented to address racial inequality in access to education. This act required states with racially segregated higher education systems to establish separate land-grant institutions for African Americans and provided federal funding to these land-grant colleges. The Morrill Act has led to the establishment of 17 land-grant HBCUs, but because these schools depend on federal funding, they are often some of the most underfunded institutions in the country. In 2023, professors at Pine Bluff sent a letter reporting that the university has missed out on over $300 million in funding over the past 30 years. In their reporting, they stated that even though funding is federally mandated, how much is delivered to each university is left up to legislators. Even underfunded, the HBCUs in Arkansas are undeterred. Any Golden Lions out there? You know what's an interesting fact about Delaware? It's actually a southern state. Kind of. In the 1760s, Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon created what is now known as the Mason-Dixon line. This imaginary line was used to separate free northern states from southern slave states. Delaware is east of the Mason-Dixon line, but sided with the Confederacy during the Civil War, maintaining slavery until it was abolished in 1863. Delaware is home of only one HBCU, Delaware State University. Established as a result of the 1890 Morrill Act, the original name of DSU was the State College for College Students. Established as a land-grant institution, the school specialized in agriculture, mechanical arts, and other practical fields. Today, Dell State boasts a 400-acre main campus that offers 46 undergraduate degrees, 21 graduate degrees, and 6 doctoral degrees. Next up, we take a 2-hour drive to the Chocolate City. The nation's capital isn't a state, but it's still home to 2 historic Black institutions of higher learning. Washington, D.C. was the first major city to have a majority Black population. It is also home to possibly the most famous HBCU in the world, Howard University. But did you know the University of the District of Columbia is also a HBCU? UDC was established in 1851, which makes it the second oldest HBCU in the country. The original name of the school was the Normal School for Colored. The original campus was a rented room in a framed house. Now, UDC has 23 acres in the midst of the city and offers over 80 degree programs as well as a law school. Right up the street is the mighty HU. Referred to as the Mecca, Howard University was founded by Civil War hero Otis Howard in 1867. To date, Howard University has awarded over 120,000 graduate degrees and certificates and is the top producer of Black doctors, lawyers, and engineers. Howard is home of some of the most influential people in history. Figures like Thurgood Marshall, Stokely Carmichael, aka Kwame Ture, Kamala Harris, Chadwick Boseman, Toni Morrison, Zora Neale Hurston, and Thomas Sowell. The campus at Howard was used as headquarters during the Civil Rights Movement, led by the aforementioned Stokely Carmichael. Howard's law school was instrumental in structuring Brown versus the Board of Education. Led by Professor Charles Hamilton Houston, he transformed the law school into a powerhouse for civil rights advocacy, training a generation of Black lawyers dedicated to challenging segregation and discrimination. Among his students was Thurgood Marshall, who would later become the first African-American Supreme Court Justice. Under Professor Houston's leadership, Howard became ground zero for the architects that created the legal strategy that culminated in the landmark Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. Which declared state laws establishing separate public schools for Black and white students unconstitutional. Professor Charles Hamilton Houston is often referred to as the man who killed Jim Crow, and he did most of the work on Howard's campus. On the eve of the Civil War, 44% of Florida's population were slaves. So once the South was defeated and the Emancipation Proclamation freed slaves, over 60,000 newly freed Black Floridians took on the task of educating themselves. And they didn't wait long. Just a few years after the emancipation, the first HBCU in Florida popped up, Edward Waters University in Jacksonville in 1866. EWU was founded by members of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. The university has closed, reopened, renamed, and even was set on fire in 1901. It reopened in 1904 and is still educating students more than 150 years since they originally opened. Down in South Florida, you have Florida Memorial University in Miami. FMU was originally founded the Florida Baptist Institute in 1879. The original campus was in Live Oak, Florida, which is a 6-hour drive from Miami. After a racially motivated attack, the school relocated to Jacksonville and renamed it Florida Baptist Academy. They relocated to St. Augustine under the name Florida Normal and Technical Institute in 1918. Fun fact, a young Zora Neale Hurston taught at the St. Augustine campus in 1942. By 1968, after yet more racially motivated violence, the school relocated to their current campus in Miami under their newly amended name, Florida Memorial University. Florida is also home to 2 of the most well-known HBCUs in the country, FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, affectionately known as FAMU, is one of the most prestigious universities in the country and boasts one of the largest student populations among HBCUs. FAMU, like every other Black institution, was created because they were denied access to the ones available. Black abolitionist John C. Gibbs first introduced legislation to create a state normal college for colored students in 1885, 1 year after being elected to the Florida legislature. The date also reflects the new Florida Constitution of 1885, which prohibited racial integration in schools. FAMU has a storied history of participating in the civil rights movement with sit-ins, marches, and voter registration drives. Many Black doctors, lawyers, and entertainers are fellow Rattlers, but one thing that brought them into the mainstream was the Marching 100. The 4th Florida HBCU is Bethune-Cookman in Daytona Beach. founded by the great Mary McLeod Bethune in 1904 as the Educational and Industrial School for Negro Girls. It merged with Cookman Institute for Boys in 1923. Under Mary McLeod Bethune's leadership, the school grew as her profile grew. She became the first African-American woman to head a federal agency and served as an advisor to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. She also used her platforms to advocate for racial equality, influence national policy, and was an expert at getting donations for her school. Atlanta, Georgia, is considered the cradle of the modern civil rights movement. Georgia is the home to many of the most prominent black figures the world has ever known, many of whom are HBCU graduates. Georgia is the home of 10 HBCUs, 12 if you count Carver College and John C. Smith Theological Seminary in Atlanta. The Big Ten include Albany State University, Fort Valley State University, Savannah State, and Morris Brown. Who doesn't love a Morehouse man? We definitely love our sisters from Spelman. Morehouse and Spelman are two of the 4 schools that make up the Atlanta University Consortium. The all-men college, Morehouse, has produced 11 Fulbright Scholars, 5 Rhodes Scholars, and 5 Marshall Scholars. The school was the home of the most famous civil rights leader ever, Dr. Martin Luther King. It also proved fertile soil for award-winning filmmaker Spike Lee and actor Samuel L. Jackson and Brian Tyree Henry. Just across the street, we have the All-Women Institute, Spelman College. Spelman is named after Laura Spelman, who was the wife of John D. Rockefeller. The school was founded by 2 teachers in 1881, whose mission was to educate black freed women. John D. Rockefeller heard about their mission, visited the school, then proceeded to pay off the school's debts and invest in its growth. Today, Spelman is one of the most highly ranked institutions in America. It has been ranked the #1 HBCU for 18 years in a row. The other 2 schools in the Atlanta University Consortium are Morehouse School of Medicine and Clark Atlanta. Fun fact, Clark Atlanta was founded by 2 illiterate ex-slaves, James Tate and Grandison B. Daniels. James Tate was the half-brother of William J. White. White was the co-founder of the Augusta Institute. The Augusta Institute eventually became Morehouse College. Make sure you guys stick around. We guarantee you'll learn about some schools you didn't even know existed. Next, we make our way over to the Bluegrass State. Kentucky is home to 2 historically black institutions of higher education, Kentucky State University and Simmons College of Kentucky. Both universities were founded prior to the 1890 Morrill Act, which is a direct result of self-determination and not waiting for permission, even though Kentucky State was granted land grant status after the fact. Simmons College is named after a former slave, William J. Simmons, who led and taught at the college. Kentucky State was established to train African-American teachers. However, these HBCUs in Kentucky are grossly underfunded. In 2023, after a federal investigation, it was reported that Kentucky State was underfunded by $172 million over 30 years. Prior to the Civil War, many black institutions operated throughout the country. Most of these schools taught practical skills like agriculture, industry, teaching, and ministry. It wasn't until later on that these institutions began to hand out degrees of varying fields. The Cajun State has 6 HBCUs, but only Southern University and A&M College was established in 1880 before the Second Morrill Act of 1890. But did you know there are multiple Southern universities? The Southern University System is a system of public, historically black universities in the state of Louisiana. The Southern University System is the only historically black system in the country. For example, states like California, Texas, and Georgia all have university systems. Within the Southern University System, you have several different campuses: Southern University and A&M College in Baton Rouge, Southern University in New Orleans, Southern University in Shreveport. Officially, Dillard University is credited as the first HBCU in Louisiana. Dillard was founded in 1935, and the Southern University System didn't achieve its charter until 1974. Louisiana is home to Xavier University of Louisiana. Xavier was founded by a Catholic nun who used her inheritance to educate African Americans. But where is everybody somebody? None other than the mighty Grambling State University. To football fans of a certain age, Grambling is the home of legendary coach Eddie Robinson and the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, Doug Williams. Next up, we head to the eastern shore of the country to check out the homes of bulldogs and bears. Maryland is an interesting state when it comes to its location and relationship with Black Americans. Maryland is below the Mason-Dixon line, sided with the Confederacy during the Civil War, and held on to slavery until the very end. However, today, Maryland is home to some of the wealthiest educated Black people in the country. This is in large part because of the HBCUs within and surrounding the state. Within the state, you have Bowie State University, Coppin State University, University of Eastern Shore, and Morgan State University. The church has historically played a pivotal role in helping educate African Americans. Up until the 1960s, educating Black people was either restricted, obstructed, or downright illegal. During slavery, those who could read and write would use the church as a cover to secretly teach other slaves. So, upon the Emancipation Proclamation, one of the biggest leaders to get the newly freed educated was led by church folk. For example, the oldest HBCU in the state is Bowie State University. Founded in 1865 as Baltimore Normal School for Colored Teachers, and their first classroom was at the African Baptist Church in Baltimore, Maryland. The school moved to Bowie, Maryland in 1910 and changed their name to Bowie State University in 1988. Another example of the church supporting the education of Black folk is the history of the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. In 1886, the Methodist Episcopal Church is responsible for the original classes, which were held on 16 acres of farmland in Princess Anne, Maryland. Their mission was to prepare Black men and women for teaching and agricultural work. Today, the school still delivers exceptional graduates in the field of agriculture, as well as engineering and different sciences. Morgan State University was founded by the Methodist Episcopal Church as well. The largest HBCU in the state, Morgan State was founded as the Centenary Biblical Institute in 1867. The original purpose of the institution was to train freedmen in the ministry. The school was renamed to Morgan College in 1890 after the first chairman of the Board of Trustees, Reverend Littleton Morgan. Out of Maryland's 4 HBCUs in the state, only Coppin State University is the only one that wasn't founded with the assistance of the church. However, Coppin State is the only university in the state named after a Black woman. In 1926, the school took on the name of pioneering educator Fanny Jackson Coppin. Fanny Jackson Coppin was the first African-American woman to head an institution of higher learning. There are over 100 historically Black colleges and universities, but they are mostly concentrated in the southern and eastern regions of the U.S. As of now, 31 states don't house an HBCU. States like California, Hawaii, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Colorado don't have historically Black colleges, mostly because states in the North and West didn't enforce segregation laws like the Northeast and South. We continue our tour by going down to the Delta. Many of the horrors of the Black American experience took place in Mississippi. For centuries, the Magnolia State has been known to have the most violent and destructive obstacles against Black people. During slavery, Mississippi was known to have the fiercest slave owners and grueling plantations. During Reconstruction, Black farmers were exploited and terrorized. During Jim Crow, national tragedies like the death of Emmett Till and the ambush of civil rights workers in 1964. So, the establishment of Black institutions were necessary, and Black people understood it was on them to establish them. Mississippi has 6 HBCUs: Alcorn State University, Coahoma Community College, Jackson State University, Mississippi Valley State University, and Rust College. Alcorn State University was the first land-grant Black college in the country. The school's first president was a Black Republican senator, Hiram R. Revels, and that led to the school receiving favor from state legislation. However, that led to white backlash early on. Republican-led legislation post-Civil War truly supported establishing Black education initiatives throughout the country. The Mississippi State Legislature provided $50,000 in cash for 10 successive years for the establishment and overall operations of the college. That all changed in 1876 with the Democratic group known as the Redeemers. The Redeemers took over the legislature under the idea that the Republicans were putting too many incompetent Black people in positions of power. With their power grab, Alcorn's approved appropriation of $50,000 per year was slashed 90% to only $5,500. Jackson State University started out as a Natchez seminary in 1877. Jackson State was a hub for resistance during the Civil Rights Movement. In 1970, The campus was the home of a confrontation between students and police officers, which left 2 students dead and 12 others injured by gunfire. The JSU Tigers was also the home of Hall of Fame running back Walter Payton. Rust College was the home of historic journalist and Black American activist Ida B. Wells. Located in Holly Springs, Mississippi, Rust College was founded by the Freedmen's Aid Society of the Methodist Episcopal Church. The school was where Ida B. Wells enhanced her teaching skills, which was its primary focus in its early days. Historically Black colleges are multifaceted and intricate. Their history and impact has created safe havens and breeding grounds for Black excellence for more than a century and a half. This video will introduce and touch on most HBCUs, but we implore you to dive deeper on these institutions. Prior to the Civil War, Missouri claimed neutrality when it came to war. Even though the state had petitioned for slavery in 1819, they eventually sent men to fight for both the Union and Confederacy once the Civil War began. Lincoln State University was founded at the end of the war. The 62nd Colored Infantry Regiment of the U.S. Army raised $6,300 to set up a Black school in Missouri. In 1866, the Lincoln Institute was founded by activist and educator James Milton Turner. The school included mostly former enslaved men and women, but also included Black and white teachers. The only other HBCU in the state is Harris-Stowe State University. The university is the result of the merging of 2 colleges. In 1954, Stowe Teachers College for African Americans and Harris Teachers College for white students merged following the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Brown v. Board of Education, which led to the integration of student populations throughout the country. Next up is the state with the second most HBCUs and also home of the largest. But first, consider joining our team. By clicking the join button, you can support content like this for as low as $2.99 a month. All your support helps us expand our research and improve the quality of our content. North Carolina has a rich history of educating Black Americans, and it has a lot to do with their 10 in-state historically Black colleges and universities. The oldest HBCU in the state is Shaw University. Then you have the excellent all-women's institute, Bennett College. Then you have schools like St. Augustine University and Livingstone College, Fayetteville State University, and Elizabeth State University. And we can't leave out Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina. But let's talk about the big 3 within the state: North Carolina Central, North Carolina A&T, and Winston-Salem State. Founded in 1909 by James Edward Shepard, North Carolina Central is the first public liberal arts institution for African Americans in the country. Central is one of 5 HBCUs in the University of North Carolina system. The others are Elizabeth City State, Fayetteville State, A&T, and Winston-Salem State. Speaking of Winston-Salem, it was founded as Slater Industrial and Slater Normal School in 1892. The school started out with 25 students and 1 teacher in a 1-room frame structure. The school wouldn't adopt its current name until July 1, 1972, when Winston-Salem State University became a part of the University of North Carolina system. The biggest HBCU in the country is North Carolina A&T. The Aggies are a direct result of the Morrill Act of 1890. Because Black students were not accepted at North Carolina State, the college's Board of Trustees had to find a solution or accept Black students. On March 9, 1891, the Agricultural and Mechanical College for the Colored Race was established by an act of the North Carolina General Assembly as an annex of Shaw University. But here's some interesting facts about A&T. Did you know that even though the school admitted both men and women from the beginning, from 1901 till 1928, it only admitted men? Have you ever heard about the A&T 4? On February 1, 1960, 4 freshman Aggies, Ezell Blair, Joseph McNeil, Franklin McCain, and David Richmond, sat at an all-white eating counter inside a Woolworth's in Greensboro. The actions of the 4 freshmen gained momentum as other students of the college joined them in their nonviolent protest to desegregate Woolworth's lunch counter, which became known as the Greensboro Sit-ins. Welcome to Ohio, home of the first ever HBCU to be owned and operated by Black Americans. Actually, both Wilberforce University and Central State University are the results of Black folk doing for themselves. Ohio was fertile ground for the expansion of Black Americans pre- and post-emancipation. Ohio was a free state, a hub for abolitionist activity, and had strong ties to the Underground Railroad. Even though the state was more accepting of black people, they were still required to figure out how to educate themselves. Wilberforce University is named after British abolitionist William Wilberforce, who led efforts to end the transatlantic slave trade within the British Empire. Designed to educate both freemen and runaways, Wilberforce quickly became a safe haven for those looking for intellectual elevation. The university was founded by a collaboration between the AME Church and the Methodist Episcopal Church. However, the outbreak of the Civil War in 1861 caused the school great financial distress, and the school shuttered in 1862. But in 1863, the institution was purchased by the African Methodist Church and chose Bishop Daniel Payne to lead the reopening. In 1887, Wilberforce established a 2-year program for teachers and industrial training. This division of the university was known as the Combined Normal and Industrial Department. In 1941, the department expanded to a 4-year program. Next, in 1947, the Combined Normal and Industrial Department became a separate institution. Then, in 1951, they changed their name to Central State College, eventually gaining university status in 1965. Oklahoma has a storied history of Black Americans seeking independence. The Sooner State has been home to over 50 black settlements, including Black Wall Street in Tulsa, of which only 13 still exist to this day. Oklahoma is home to only one HBCU, and it was founded before Oklahoma was even a state. Langston University was established on March 12, 1897. Oklahoma didn't become a state until 1907. The school was founded as the Oklahoma Colored Agricultural and Normal University as a result of the Morrill Act in 1890. The state already had a land-grant college that didn't integrate, so to continue to receive state funding, they had to establish an alternative school for African Americans. The university was renamed Langston University in 1941 in honor of abolitionist John Mercer Langston. Mr. Langston was the first black member of Congress in Virginia, and he was also a founder for Howard University Law School. Also, the movie The Great Debaters, featuring Denzel Washington, was about poet Melvin B. Tolson, who taught at Langston from 1947 until 1964. Pennsylvania is one of the most important states when it comes to educating Black Americans. Pennsylvania, a free state, was home to some of the most prominent abolitionists, played a significant role in the Underground Railroad, and is home to 2 of the most important HBCUs in the country. The first historically black college in the country was founded in 1837 as the African Institute by a Quaker named Richard Humphreys in Cheney, Pennsylvania. The Quakers believed in the equality of all people and that everyone has an inner light that connects them directly to God. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the Quakers owned slaves. However, by the middle of the 18th century, the act of slavery began to weigh on the morality of the Quaker faithful. By 1776, the Quakers formally outlawed the practice of owning slaves for any of its members. The African Institute would go on to become Cheney University, the oldest historically black college in America. However, its counterpart is the first HBCU to offer degrees. Founded in 1852, Lincoln University is the first college degree-granting black institution in the country. It was also founded by a Quaker, Sarah Emlyn Cresson, and her husband, Minister John Miller Dickey. Minister John Miller Dickey, who was the school's first president. The original name of the school was the Ashburn Institute. It wasn't until a year after the assassination of President Abe Lincoln that the school was renamed in his honor. Both Cheney and Lincoln are cornerstones of higher learning institutions for Black Americans. On September 9, 1739, one of the biggest slave rebellions in the U.S. happened about 20 miles southwest of Charleston, South Carolina. Near the Stono River, a group of enslaved people raided a gun store and marched south, killing almost 24 white people along the way. Because of the Stono Rebellion, in 1740, South Carolina passed a law prohibiting the education of enslaved people, making it illegal to teach them to read or write. The intent was to prevent literacy, which could enable enslaved individuals to forge passes, read abolitionist literature, or organize rebellions. This approach to educating, or rather, making it illegal for black people to learn, would shape the landscape of South Carolina for centuries. South Carolina has 8 historically black colleges. These institutions came about through various means, including land grants, the support of religious organizations, and self-determination. Claflin University is the oldest HBCU in the state. Founded after the Civil War in 1869 by Alonzo Webster, a minister of the Methodist Episcopal Church. Webster had received a charter from the state of South Carolina to establish a college for freed slaves. Claflin University not only claims to be the first college in the state to welcome all students, regardless of race or gender, but also the first black college to offer architectural drawing courses. Shortly after Claflin was founded, less than an hour north in Columbia, South Carolina, Benedict College was established. Founded in 1870 as grounds to train freed slaves as teachers and leaders, the first classes were held on an actual plantation. After the war, many plantations that were once paid for with free labor fell into ruin. So when Reverend Timothy Dodge led his first class of 10 freemen at Benedict, it was held in the big house of an old plantation. Then you have South Carolina State University, which is founded in 1896 as a result of the Morrill Act of 1890. Allen University, Voorhees University, Morris College, and Clinton College were all founded with the help of the church. In 1947, the General Assembly of the state of South Carolina authorized the establishment of Denmark Technical College. The state's Department of Education mandated that Denmark educate black citizens in various trades. The General Assembly of the state of South Carolina authorized the establishment of Denmark Technical College in 1947, and the college began operation on March 1, 1948, as the Denmark branch of the South Carolina trade school system. At its inception, the institution functioned under the authority of the South Carolina Department of Education and was mandated to educate black citizens in various trades. Tennessee's historically black institutions are responsible for some of the most historical black figures in history. People like civil rights leaders John Lewis and W.E.B. Du Bois, Olympian Wilma Rudolph, poet and advocate Nikki Giovanni, and TSU's own Oprah Winfrey. Tennessee is home to 7 HBCUs: American Baptist University, Fisk University, Knoxville College, Lane College, Lemoyne-Owen College, Meharry Medical College, and Tennessee State University. Fisk University was the first HBCU in the state, founded on January 9, 1866, by the American Missionary Association, whose aim was to educate recently emancipated black Americans. The school is named after Clinton B. Fisk, a Union general and assistant commissioner of the Freedmen's Bureau of Tennessee. In 1871, Fisk was facing financial challenges, so to save the university, the school created the Fisk Jubilee Singers. The choir toured the U.S. and Europe, performing gospel music. With their efforts, they saved the university from closure. Today, the Fisk Jubilee Singers are still active, and on campus, Jubilee Hall stands as a symbol of their efforts. Did you know Ida B. Wells took classes at 2 universities in Tennessee? One was Fisk, the other was Lemoyne-Owen College. Lemoyne-Owen College's roots go back to 1862, when it was simply an elementary school. It evolved into Lemoyne College in 1914. Owen College was founded in 1947 as an educational endeavor to provide opportunities for black people in segregated Memphis. The two schools finally merged in 1968. Tennessee State University was created in response to the University of Tennessee not wanting to allow black students admission. Because the University of Tennessee is a land-grant institution and accepts federal funding under the Second Morrill Act of 1890, the state was obligated to create an institution that would educate its black citizens. Thus, TSU was born. Tennessee State's most famous alum is Oprah Winfrey. However, they also have a reputation of great athletes. Beyond a bunch of professional football and basketball players, the greatest Lady Tiger was Wilma Rudolph. While in college, Ms. Rudolph broke the 200-meter record and qualified for the 1960 Olympics in Rome, where she went on to win 3 gold medals. On January 1, 1863, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring all Southern states to free all of their slaves. The 13th Amendment that abolished slavery was issued in 1865. The last state to get the memo was Texas. On June 19, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger announced the Emancipation Proclamation in Galveston, Texas. Today, that day is remembered as Juneteenth. The end of slavery created an urgent need to educate the free black Americans, and the church stepped up to address the need. Just about every HBCU in the state was founded by the church. Houston-Tillotson University, Jarvis Christian University, Paul Quinn College, Prairie View A&M, Southwestern Christian College, St. Philip's College, Texas College, Texas Southern University, and Wiley University. The first HBCU established in the state was Paul Quinn College in 1872 by the African Methodist Episcopal Church. In 2010, the college made national headlines when they converted their football field into a farm. Wiley College was founded by the Methodist Episcopal Church in 1873. The liberal arts college is famous for its debate team, which defeated the University of Southern California in 1935 and became the inspiration behind the movie The Great Debaters. The two most popular HBCUs in the state are Prairie View A&M and Houston-Tillotson University. Prairie View is the oldest public HBCU in the state and the second oldest public university in Texas. In 1879, former slaves turned politicians, Senator Matthew Gaines and Representative William H. Holland, crafted legislation for the creation of a state-supported agricultural and mechanical college. The article stated that separate schools shall be provided for white and colored children, and impartial provisions shall be made for both. The legislation made Prairie A&M the first state-supported institution of higher learning for African Americans in Texas. Houston-Tillotson University was established with the help of the United Methodist Church and United Church of Christ. The oldest university in Austin, Texas, Houston-Tillotson is the result of a merger between Tillotson College and Samuel Houston College. Fun fact, before the merger, legendary baseball player Jackie Robinson coached the school's basketball team when it was still Samuel Houston College. However, the team was so bad, Coach Robinson had to insert himself into a few exhibition games. This next HBCU is the youngest and the most tropical. Did you know the U.S. claimed the Virgin Islands in 1917 when the U.S. paid Denmark $25 million in gold coins? 50 years later, a land-grant historically black college was established on the Caribbean island, University of the Virgin Islands. The 388-acre campus opened on St. Thomas as a college of the Virgin Islands. Today, the university has campuses on St. Thomas, St. John's, and St. Croix. The majority of the buildings on the St. Thomas campus are made of volcanic rock and cement. This makes the campus not only aesthetically pleasing, but also improves the structural integrity of the structures, as the U.S. Virgin Islands are known for experiencing very active hurricane seasons. The University of the Virgin Islands is the only HBCU that doesn't reside in the continental United States. Richmond, Virginia was the capital of the Confederacy during the Civil War. Once the war ended, Virginia was left to deal with this new class of freemen. And the freemen were faced with freedom and having to catch up in every which way, especially in education. You have Virginia Union, Hampton University, Norfolk State University, Virginia State University, and Virginia University of Lynchburg. The big in the state are Virginia Union, Norfolk State, and Hampton. Virginia Union is the oldest HBCU in the state, as it was established shortly after the end of the Civil War in 1865. The university is a culmination of the Culver Institute, which was originally housed in a slave jail, Hartshorne Memorial College, which was an all-women's college, and the National Theological Institute from Washington, D.C. Virginia Union helped give birth to Norfolk State University. The university was founded on September 18, 1935, as a Norfolk unit of Virginia Union. It wasn't until 1942 that they became independent and were granted university status in 1979. The Spartans are the largest HBCU in the state by enrollment. Recently, the school made headlines when they chose hometown hero and NFL legend Mike Vick to become their next head football coach. Arguably the most popular school is Hampton University. Founded on a former plantation on the Hampton River, Hampton University has been a breeding ground for black excellence since 1868. One of the earliest students was none other than Booker T. Washington. His time at Hampton included as a student and a professor. He would use what he learned here to help him lead the growth of Tuskegee University in Alabama. Interesting fact, Hampton also established a formal education program for Native Americans. In 1878, Hampton established a formal education program for Native Americans with the intention that the black students and Native American students would help uplift each other. Unfortunately, white people did not like the race mingling, and the program was shut down in 1923 because of Jim Crow. We are down to our last state that has an HBCU. If you've made it this far, you must love this content, so let us know by leaving a comment below. All of our HBCU alum, shout out your school and a favorite memory about your time there. When Virginia voted to secede from the Union in April 1861, many western counties within the state opposed the decision. The region's residents, primarily small farmers and industrial workers, had little in common with the plantation economy of Eastern Virginia. Virginia became a fractured state, and in 1863, those counties that opposed joining the Confederacy created their own state, and boom, West Virginia was born. After the war, West Virginia became the home of many recently freed families. Within the state, even though there was segregation, you had a black working class and pockets of schooling. West Virginia has two HBCUs, Bluefield State College and West Virginia State College. West Virginia State is a land-grant institution created because black students were not admitted into the University of West Virginia. The university is home to the famous mathematician Katherine Johnson, who is famous for her work with NASA and was depicted in the movie Hidden Figures. Interestingly enough, WVSU was one of the first HBCUs to integrate and now has a diverse student body. Bluefield State College took integration to the next level. Founded in 1895 as an institute to educate black teachers. While classified as an HBCU, Bluefield State has a predominantly white population today, making it one of the most unique HBCUs in the country.
Number 9. University of the Virgin Islands. Now let's travel beyond the continental United States to a unique HBCU, the University of the Virgin Islands. Spread across the islands of St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John, this university stands out not only for its location, but for its powerful story of resilience and identity. Founded in 1962 amid the Civil Rights Movement, it became a beacon of hope for Afro-Caribbean and African-American students alike. Its campuses are built to withstand hurricanes, a symbol of strength mirroring the communities it serves, survivors who rebuild time and again. What makes this HBCU so important in black education history? It's the only one outside the continental U.S., showing that the fight for empowerment crosses not just racial, but geographical boundaries as well. Its location brings unique challenges, political and cultural, that shape its mission and student experience. How does it balance Caribbean heritage with African American history? How does it maintain identity while serving a diverse community? Questions like these reveal that education here is as much about cultural survival as academics. The University of the Virgin Islands is proof that black excellence refuses to be confined, even by oceans or storms. It forces us to rethink black education as a global story, rich with struggle and triumph. As we leave this island sanctuary, we wonder, what lessons can the mainland learn from this resilient school? How might its legacy reshape our understanding of black education's reach? Number 8. Prairie View, A&M University, Texas. Now, we head to the heart of Texas. When most think of this state, images of cowboys and oil wells come to mind. But Prairie View A&M tells a different story, one of resilience and empowerment. Founded through the Morrill Act of 1890, Prairie View is the second oldest public university in Texas and was established to provide agricultural and technical education specifically for African Americans at a time when segregation barred them from other institutions. Isn't it striking that the state, which once fought fiercely to uphold slavery, would become the soil nurturing one of the most important engines of black education and progress? Prairie View has graduated generations of leaders, engineers, scientists, educators, who challenged and continue to challenge old power structures that sought to keep them down. But the battles weren't just in the classroom. Texas's political and social landscape added complexities and hardships, new forms of segregation, economic disparities, and cultural resistance. How did this university maintain its mission and spirit amid such obstacles? How did it turn those challenges into strength? Today, Prairie View is a powerhouse in STEM education, agriculture, and leadership training. Its legacy is proof that the fight for black empowerment is not only historic, but ongoing, and Texas still plays a critical role in that story. As we move forward on this journey, ask yourself, what hidden stories of struggle and triumph lie behind the walls of other HBCUs across this nation? What truths have yet to be told? Number 7. Spelman College, Georgia. In the bustling city of Atlanta, Georgia, stands Spelman College, a beacon of black female excellence and resilience. Known as the most prestigious historically black women's college, Spelman boasts a legacy stretching back over 140 years, supported early on by powerful allies like the Rockefeller family. For 18 consecutive years, it has been ranked the top HBCU in the nation, but its story is far deeper than any ranking. Spelman was more than just a school. It was a radical statement in a society that tried to silence black women's voices. At a time when both race and gender could close doors permanently, Spelman opened them wide, and its students didn't just walk through, they soared. Each graduating class has sent forth educators, activists, scientists, and artists who relentlessly challenge the narrative of Black women as invisible or powerless. But what made Spelman's strength so enduring? Was it the unwavering belief in the transformative power of education, or was it something more? A spirit born from generations who refused to accept anything less than full equality and respect. How did these women cultivate such resilience amid social and political storms that raged beyond their campus walls? In today's world, where Black women remain at the forefront of cultural and political movements, Spelman's influence is undeniable. But it also reminds us to ask, what more could be achieved if all barriers were broken? And what might the future hold for this anchor of empowerment? As we prepare to leave Georgia behind, keep this question alive. What other stories of strength and triumph are hidden in the halls of HBCUs across the nation, waiting to inspire the world? Number 6, Meharry Medical College, Tennessee. Now, let's turn to Tennessee, home of Meharry Medical College, one of the most important institutions in American medical history and a cornerstone of healthcare for Black communities. Founded in 1876, just a decade after the Civil War, Meharry emerged during a time when African Americans faced extreme barriers to medical education and access to healthcare. Imagine a world where Black doctors were almost non-existent. Hospitals often refused to treat Black patients, and entire communities were left vulnerable and dying in silence. Meharry Medical College didn't just fill this void. It became a lifeline for countless African Americans seeking both care and careers in medicine. Thousands of Black doctors, dentists, and healthcare professionals have walked through Meharry's doors, many of whom went on to serve the most underserved and marginalized communities across the South and beyond. Their work wasn't just about healing bodies. It was about healing a fragmented society, restoring dignity, and challenging the racist systems that had long locked so many out of quality medical care. This institution's struggle to survive funding shortages, segregation laws, and even political challenges only strengthens its legacy. How did Meharry keep its doors open and its mission alive through decades of hostility? What stories of perseverance and innovation are hidden behind those walls? Today, Meharry continues to be a vital force in public health, education, and social justice. But the question remains, in a country still grappling with health disparities and racial inequities, how will this institution and those it inspires shape the future of medicine and equality? Number 5, Cheyney University, Pennsylvania. Before the Civil War, before emancipation, there was Cheyney University, a pioneering force in Black education and the very first historically Black college and university in the United States, founded in 1837. What makes Cheyney so remarkable is not just its age, but the vision behind its creation. Founded by Quaker abolitionists, this institution was born out of a radical belief that education was a right, not a privilege, for Black Americans long before such ideas were accepted in mainstream society. Imagine the courage it took to open doors to freed and enslaved African Americans during an era when laws and social norms kept most locked away from knowledge and opportunity. Cheyney's halls echoed with the promise of a future where Black intellect and leadership could flourish. But how did a school so ahead of its time survive in a country still deeply divided by slavery and racism? This university didn't just teach reading and writing. It taught resistance, empowerment, and the unshakable conviction that Black minds could and would change America. With roots stretching into a network of abolitionists and freedom fighters, Cheyney became a hub for nurturing voices that would challenge injustice for generations. But how many know that beyond its pioneering past, Cheyney faced challenges that threatened its very existence? From racial violence to economic hardships, its survival is a testament to the resilience of a community unwilling to let its history be erased. So, what can Cheyney's legacy teach us about the power of education as a tool for liberation? And as we look at today's fight for equity, how does this historic institution continue to inspire hope and determination? Number 4, Wilberforce University, Ohio. Our journey now takes us to Ohio, a free state and a vital crossroads of the Underground Railroad, where Wilberforce University stands as a monumental symbol of Black self-determination. Founded in 1856, Wilberforce was not just another school. It was the first HBCU to be owned and operated entirely by African Americans. This wasn't an institution handed down or funded solely by white benefactors. It was built, managed, and led by Black communities themselves, making a fierce statement. Education belongs to us, and we will control our own destiny. Wilberforce became a beacon of hope, faith, and intellectual empowerment amid a nation deeply divided over race. Its deep connection to religious institutions and the fight against slavery added layers of purpose. Not only did it educate, it cultivated leaders ready to challenge the oppressive systems around them. Wilberforce's influence doesn't stop there. Its growth helped birth Central State University, spreading that spirit of independence and excellence even further. But how did Wilberforce survive the Civil War, Reconstruction, and the decades of racial terror that followed? What sacrifices did its leaders and students make to keep the torch burning in the darkest of times? Today, Wilberforce embodies the power of community-driven education and serves as a profound reminder that ownership and leadership in education are essential to true empowerment. What lessons lie hidden in its story? Lessons about faith, resilience, and the courage to lead in a land that was never supposed to allow them to thrive. Number 3. Tuskegee University, Alabama. Welcome to Alabama, home to Tuskegee University, an emblem of Black empowerment, ingenuity, and sometimes controversy. Founded in 1881, many believe that Booker T. Washington single-handedly created Tuskegee, but the truth challenges that narrative. Washington was its first leader, a visionary, yes, but Tuskegee was the product of a broader community's effort, born from the urgent need for self-reliance in a harsh, segregated world. Tuskegee's philosophy was simple but revolutionary: build not only minds, but skills. Students literally constructed their own campus buildings, learning trades alongside academic subjects. This was education as resistance, as empowerment, as survival. Under the legendary George Washington Carver, Tuskegee's laboratories produced agricultural innovations that transformed Southern farming and arguably reshaped America's economy. But here's where a haunting question emerges. How many of these contributions were buried beneath the weight of racial prejudice? How often were Black achievements ignored or erased because of who created them? The history of Tuskegee doesn't just celebrate success. It invites us to confront what remains hidden in plain sight. Tuskegee remains a beacon of autonomy and progress in education, but it also carries the scars of a legacy that demanded so much sacrifice. As we move forward, ask yourself, what more could Tuskegee and institutions like it achieve if the world finally recognized their full worth? And as we leave Alabama behind, one more question lingers. What untold stories from other HBCUs could challenge what we think we know about American history? Number 2, Howard University, Washington, D.C. No list of HBCUs can be complete without Howard University. Founded in 1867, just after the Civil War, Howard became the crucible where Black leaders, thinkers, and change-makers were forged. It wasn't merely an institution of learning. It was a launching pad for political and cultural power at a time when African Americans were fighting to claim their place in democracy. Howard gave the world giants like Thurgood Marshall, the first Black Supreme Court Justice; Kamala Harris, the first Black and South Asian Vice President; Toni Morrison, whose literary voice shaped generations; and Chadwick Boseman, whose roles brought Black history to life on the global stage. This university has shaped laws, culture, and the very idea of what it means to be Black and American. Yet behind these successes lies a constant battle against systemic barriers, political opposition, funding challenges, and a society still wrestling with its own history of racism. How did Howard endure and rise above these hostile forces? What unseen struggles fueled the victories of its students and faculty? Today, Howard remains a vital center of Black intellectual and cultural identity, a place where past legacies inspire new generations to challenge injustice and innovate. But the question endures: how does Howard navigate its role in a modern America still grappling with racial inequality? As we prepare to move to the last and largest, North Carolina A&T, we must ask, what role will these institutions play in the future of Black America and beyond? Number 1, North Carolina, A&T State University, North Carolina. Finally, we arrive at the largest HBCU in the nation, North Carolina A&T State University. But what truly makes it number 1 isn't just its size. It's what the students who walked its halls dared to do. In 1960, 4 young men known as the Greensboro Four sat down at a segregated Woolworth's lunch counter and refused to leave until they were served. Their courageous act of nonviolent resistance sparked a series of sit-ins across the country, becoming a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement. These young men were A&T students, embodying the university's legacy of activism, leadership, and unyielding courage. North Carolina A&T didn't just produce activists. It has been an academic powerhouse, dominating in science, technology, engineering, and agriculture. Its faculty and alumni have shaped industries, governments, and communities, proving that Black excellence is both broad and deep. But what is it about this institution's soil, these classrooms, and this community that continues to generate waves of social change? How does North Carolina A&T stay true to its history while pushing the boundaries toward the future? Today, the university stands as a symbol of transformation, not only a place of learning, but a crucible for movements that redefine equality and opportunity. Its history is a reminder that change doesn't come from comfort or silence, but from bold action, rooted in education and community. So as we close this journey through America's greatest HBCUs, one question remains: what will be the next chapter written by the leaders, thinkers, and fighters who come from these halls? If this story has opened your eyes to the hidden legacies and untold battles behind Black education, don't stop now. There are deeper stories of courage, sacrifice, and triumph that remain buried in history's shadows. Black colleges have been around since the 1800s, created at a time when higher education wasn't even an option for Black students. Now, it's 2026, and many of these schools rank among the best in the country for academics, leadership, and career success. But which one stood at the very top this year? Here are the top 10 HBCUs in 2026 you need to know. Number 10, Clark Atlanta University. Let's start at number 10, because Clark Atlanta University is one of those schools people underestimate until they actually look at the numbers. Clark Atlanta sits right in the middle of Atlanta, which already gives students an unfair advantage. Founded in 1988 from the merger of Clark College and Atlanta University, it inherited serious academic DNA. CAU is especially strong in business, communications, social sciences, and arts. This university produces a steady pipeline into media, marketing, and corporate roles. Alumni regularly land jobs at companies like CNN, Delta, Coca-Cola, and Google, many without leaving the city. Enrollment sits around 4,000 students, keeping classes relatively small. The acceptance rates hover near 55%, making it accessible but still competitive. What really carries Clark Atlanta, though, is its network. Being part of the Atlanta University Center means students share academic and social space with Spelman and Morehouse, which multiplies opportunities available to the students. Now, it's not the most famous HBCU, but it is professionally connected and very good at turning location into leverage. Number 9, Xavier University of Louisiana. Moving up one spot, Xavier University of Louisiana is a completely different kind of famous. This university was founded in 1925. In fact, Xavier is the only historically Black and Catholic university in the United States, and it has built an almost legendary reputation in science and healthcare. Xavier sends more Black students to medical school per capita than any other college in the country, and that statistic alone carries serious weight. Its acceptance rate sits around 60%, but the workload is intense, especially for pre-med and pharmacy students. The university operates a full College of Pharmacy, offering PharmD and graduate health degrees, which is rare for an HBCU of its size. Enrollment is just over 2,500 students. This creates a focused, disciplined academic culture. Xavier students are known for being laser-focused on outcomes. You don't go there for vibes. You go there because you want to become a doctor, a pharmacist, or a scientist. And Xavier has been doing that quietly and consistently for decades. Number 8, Hampton University. At number 8, Hampton University brings a different kind of balance. It was founded in 1868 and is known for combining strong academics with a very polished campus culture. Acceptance rates are around 36%, which already puts it among the more selective HBCUs. Hampton offers a wide range of programs, including engineering, nursing, journalism, architecture, and business, and it does particularly well in preparing students for professional schools and government careers. Enrollment is around 3,700 undergraduates, large enough for diversity, but small enough to feel personal. One of Hampton's most unique features is the Hampton University Museum, the oldest African-American museum in the U.S., which adds serious cultural depth to campus life. alumni outcomes are strong, especially in education, healthcare, and public service. And Hampton graduates tend to move smoothly into long-term careers. It's a school that emphasizes discipline, presentation, and professionalism, and that shows in how its alumni carry themselves. Number 7, Tuskegee University. Then comes number 7. Tuskegee University is not just a college, it's a landmark. Founded in 1881, Tuskegee is a National Historic Site, the only HBCU with that designation. But the reputation is not just about the past. Tuskegee is the #1 producer of black aerospace engineers in the United States, and it is the only HBCU with a College of Veterinary Medicine that grants doctoral degrees. That alone puts it in a rare category. Acceptance rates sit around 55 to 57%, but engineering and science programs are far more selective in practice. Enrollment is just under 3,000 students, which allows for deep mentorship and hands-on research. Tuskegee's engineering, architecture, and agricultural science programs are especially strong, and alumni regularly land roles in defense, aviation, and federal research agencies. Tuskegee builds specialists, and that slow, focused approach is exactly why its graduates remain in demand. Number 6, Florida A&M University. At number 6, Florida A&M University stands as the most dominant public HBCU on this part of the list. Founded in 1887, FAMU has grown into a massive institution with over 9,000 undergraduates, yet it has become more selective over time. Recent acceptance rates have dropped into the 20 to 30% range, which surprised a lot of people who hadn't checked in recently. Academically, FAMU shines in pharmacy, engineering, journalism, business, and agriculture. It is the top producer of black pharmacists in the U.S. Another great thing is that it has a joint engineering program with Florida State University, which gives students access to shared labs, faculty, and research funding. Alumni outcomes are strong across healthcare, government, and corporate sectors, with 10-year median earnings approaching $100,000. And culturally, FAMU is unmatched. Its marching band is globally recognized. Homecoming draws massive crowds, and alumni loyalty is intense. FAMU graduates don't just leave with degrees. They leave with an identity that sticks for life. Number 5, North Carolina A&T State University. At number 5 sits North Carolina A&T State University. This is the largest HBCU in the United States, with enrollment pushing past 14,000 students. And that size is not accidental. It is part of the school's power. Applications have surged past 45,000 per year. Incoming GPAs now average around 3.7, and acceptance rates continue to tighten. What truly sets this university apart is engineering. It is the #1 producer of black engineers in America, year after year. Mechanical, electrical, computer, civil. A&T feeds them all directly into companies like IBM, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and the federal government. 10 years after graduation, alumni median earnings sit above $110,000, which places A&T graduates ahead of many well-known state schools. Other than that, it has land grant status, massive research funding, and one of the biggest homecomings in the country, which makes it a great institute. Number 4, Morehouse College. At number 4, we have Morehouse College. This isn't large, and it doesn't try to be. Founded in 1867, Morehouse is the only all-male HBCU in the nation, and that singular mission has produced one of the strongest alumni networks in higher education. Acceptance rates now sit in the low 30% range, and applications continue to rise as outcomes become harder to ignore. Morehouse alumni have some of the highest 10-year median earnings of any HBCU, exceeding $120,000, and placement rates hover near 95% for jobs or graduate school upon graduation. Morehouse sends a disproportionate number of students into medical school, MBA programs, law schools, and tech leadership roles. And companies recruit directly because the brand is trusted. The campus culture emphasizes leadership, accountability, and visibility. Morehouse graduates don't just get hired, they get noticed, and that reputation compounds. Number 3, Spelman College. At number 3, we have Spelman College. It has been doing something quietly extraordinary for decades. Founded in 1881, Spelman is the top-ranked HBCU and one of the most selective liberal arts colleges in the country. Acceptance rates have dropped into the low 20% range, and first-year retention sits around 94%, which is elite by any standard. About 70% of students graduate in 4 years, a statistic many universities cannot touch. But the most jaw-dropping figure is that Spelman is the #1 producer of black women who go on to earn STEM PhDs. That's not per student, that's total output. Graduates flow into medicine, doctoral research, consulting, and leadership roles at a speed that makes Spelman look less like a college and more like a launch platform. Small class sizes, intense advising, and deep academic rigor define the experience. This proves that Spelman manufactures prestige. Number 2, Morgan State University. At number 2, the conversation shifts toward research, scale, and future growth. Morgan State University has quietly become one of the most aggressive academic climbers in the HBCU space. It was founded in 1867, and Morgan is now classified as an R2 research university, with ambitions clearly aimed higher. Enrollment exceeds 9,000 students, and the university continues to expand doctoral programs in engineering, urban planning, public health, and education. Morgan is especially strong in civil engineering, cybersecurity, architecture, and transportation research, fields tied directly to government and infrastructure funding. Located in Baltimore, with proximity to Washington, D.C., Morgan students gain access to federal agencies, research labs, and defense contractors. Alumni earnings are climbing, graduate placement is strong, and the university's focus on urban innovation gives it a unique academic identity. But it cannot match the one university that sits at the number 1, Howard University. And at number 1, there is no suspense left. Howard University sits alone. Founded in 1867, Howard is the only HBCU classified as an R1 research university, placing it in the top tier of research institutions nationwide. That designation alone changes everything. Howard produces more black professionals in law, medicine, politics, and doctoral research than almost any other school in the country. Alumni include Supreme Court justices, vice presidents, Nobel-level scholars, and global leaders. Acceptance rates now hover around 30%, driven by massive applicant pools from around the world. Median mid-career earnings exceed $120,000, which is the highest among HBCUs. And then there is the location. Being in Washington, D.C. gives Howard students access to Congress, the White House, international organizations, tech firms, and policy institutions that no other HBCU can match. Howard doesn't just prepare students for careers, it places them at the center of power. Now let's slow this down and zoom in. In the next video, we are focusing on Tuskegee University, the HBCU that trained elite engineers, pilots, and scientists and helped build real black power in America. If you want to understand how they built black power with science, watch that next.